India has authorised the use of 2 coronavirus vaccines as it starts one of the world's biggest vaccination programmes. The drug, developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University, will be used alongside a locally developed vaccine. Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has warned that tougher coronavirus restrictions might have to be implemented in his country in many parts of England. He said ministers had to be realistic about the spread of the new variant of the virus discovered there. Thousands of Iraqis have been gathering in central Baghdad to mark the first anniversary of the assassination by the United States of the powerful Iranian general Qasem Soleimani. He was killed in an American drone strike. Rescue workers have uncovered a 5th body after a landslide buried homes in Norway. 5 other people are still missing. Landslide happened on Wednesday in the town of Usk.
We begin in Japan, where the Tokyo metropolitan government reported 816 new cases of the coronavirus in the capital on Sunday. Tokyo reported more than 1,300 cases on Thursday, New Year's Eve. It was the first time the figure surpassed 1,000. 101 patients in the capital are in serious condition. The governors of Tokyo and 3 adjoining prefectures are urging the central government to declare a state of emergency for the region.
Please continue to refrain from going out unless it is absolutely necessary or urgent. I strongly recommend that you work online.
More than 3,100 cases have been confirmed across the country on Sunday. The total since the pandemic began is now over 245,000. The overall death toll is more than 3,600. The pandemic is affecting coming-of-age day ceremonies across the country. The ceremony celebrates people turning 20, the age of adulthood. It usually takes place on the 2nd Monday of January. Some municipalities have canceled it this year, but one town in western Japan went ahead with the ceremony before the national holiday. The town of Wakasa in Tottori Prefecture requested that all participants take PCR tests, with costs covered by the town. Some of the participants had returned from other areas where the virus is spreading quickly. The mayor said the impact of the virus is worrisome, but young people still need to stay ambitious and take steady steps toward a successful future.
Nothing will change if I just worry about the current situation. That's not a good way to start adulthood. I'm determined to go for the future I envision.
The new adults enjoyed the reunion, taking pictures and reminiscing about shared memories. Japan's top badminton player has had his comeback from injuries cut short. Momota Kento tested positive for the coronavirus, and that's keeping him from going on a scheduled tour in Thailand. Sources related to the Nippon Badminton Association tell NHK that Momota tested positive at Narita Airport on Sunday. He was about to depart for Thailand to take part in 2 international badminton tournaments starting on January 12th. Sources say that ahead of the tour, Momota and other members of the national team gathered on Saturday at a national training center in Tokyo. The association canceled the tour for all Japanese athletes it had planned to send to this month's events. Momota had returned to the court after sustaining injuries in a car accident in January last year. He took part in the Japanese National Badminton Championships in December, winning a 3rd straight singles title. Momota was hoping to return to the World Tour, starting with Thailand. The organizers of the Tokyo Paralympics are considering ways to protect athletes and spectators from COVID-19. The postponed Paralympics are scheduled to begin in late August. Some athletes, especially those with respiratory problems, have a higher risk of developing severe symptoms if they become infected. It's expected that many of the spectators will be people with disabilities and their caregivers. They could be in close contact with each other while watching events. International organizations of various sports and the International Paralympic Committee have begun drawing up measures to mitigate the infection risks. They are studying specific ways to protect Paralympians, including how to maintain distance between athletes, shield them from droplets, and disinfect their equipment. India has authorized the emergency use of 2 coronavirus vaccines. It's the first time the country has approved vaccines for COVID-19. India's drug regulator said on Sunday that final approval has been granted for a vaccine developed by British firm AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford, and one developed by Indian company Bharat Biotech. India has confirmed more than 10 million coronavirus cases, the second highest figure after the United States. The Indian government will soon begin administering vaccines to the first group that includes healthcare workers. Officials plan to inoculate 300 million people by the summer. Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcomed the approvals on Twitter. He called the development a decisive turning point to strengthen a spirited fight. The AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine was given the go-ahead by the British government on December 30th. The Serum Institute of India has already prepared about 50 million doses. It plans to increase production to 100 million doses a month by the end of 2021. In South Korea, a major cluster of coronavirus infections has flared up at a prison in the capital Seoul, with the total number of cases surpassing 1,000. The first infection at the Dongbu Detention Center was confirmed in late November. The South Korean government said on Sunday that 1,084 cases had been linked to the center, and most of them were inmates. South Korea is experiencing a resurgence of coronavirus infections. Concerns had been raised that the virus could spread quickly through the crowded prison, but large-scale testing was not carried out until mid-December. Prime Minister Chon Se-geun and other officials apologized following criticism from opposition parties that the government's response had been too late. Japan's Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide has said it would be difficult for China to join the Trans-Pacific Partnership Free Trade Agreement as long as the country maintains its current regime. Suga joined a commercial broadcaster's radio program on Sunday and referred to recent remarks by Chinese President Xi Jinping about the pact. Xi said China will consider joining the TPP at an online summit of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum in November. Suga said he believes countries where businesses are run by the state will find it difficult to join the pact because its regulations are set at levels too high for such a business structure to follow. Regarding the issue of Japanese nationals abducted by North Korea, Suga said his predecessor, Abe Shinzo, expressed his willingness to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Suga said he wants to stand by Abe's intention and hold direct negotiations with Kim on the matter. Japan's government is planning to step up support for promising food-related technology, or food tech. It wants to make the field a growth industry for the country. The market for such technology is growing fast around the globe as people become more health conscious and concerned about possible food shortages. Cutting-edge technology for food spans a range of areas. These include meat substitutes made from plant-based ingredients such as beans and land-based fish farming by raising fish in tanks. There is tremendous potential for robots and information technology in preparing and shipping food. A panel from the Agriculture and Fisheries Ministry, as well as private firms, is working out ways to promote such technology. They aim to develop standards to guarantee food quality. In the new fiscal year starting in April, the government plans to launch a program to support food tech startups. It's also preparing to provide subsidies of up to nearly $400,000 to companies that want to expand overseas. Those were the stories for this hour.
Rollout already lagging far behind expectations with new reports of chaos and confusion. This line here of traffic snaking around the Flagler County Fairgrounds in Florida. This morning, the first vehicles arriving at 5 a.m. And in Houston, with 750 doses to distribute, the call center overwhelmed. 250,000 calls there. Here's ABC's Trevor Ault.
It gives me great pride to serve as Speaker of the most diverse House of Representatives in the history of our country, with a record-shattering 122 women. 122 women. You can applaud that. 122 women. "100 years after women won the right to vote." Now let us take a moment to give thanks to our courageous service members in uniform, our veterans and their families and caregivers, whose service makes us the land of the free, and the home of the brave. Our promise to them is that Congress will continue to work in a bipartisan way to build a future worthy of their sacrifice. As we look forward to the new Congress, let us take a moment to remember 3 champions of democracy we lost during the 116th Congress, each honored by a lying-in-state ceremony in the United States Capitol. In the fall last year, we said goodbye to Mr. Chairman Elijah Cummings, our North Star, who said, "When we're dancing with the angels, our question will be asked, what did you do to be sure we kept our democracy intact?" He is dancing with the angels now. This past spring, we said goodbye to our beloved colleague, John Lewis, the conscience of the Congress, who would say, when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you must speak up, and who would remind us to make good trouble. Good trouble. In the fall, we memorialized Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, one of the most brilliant legal minds in our history and a champion for equality, who once said right here in the Capitol, some of you were there perhaps in the Statuary Hall, who once said right here in the Capitol about women, once the door is open, there is no stopping us. Each of their memories is a source of strength and inspiration to us as we approach the challenges ahead. Scripture tells us that to everything there is a time, a season, a time for every purpose under the heavens, a time to build, a time to sow, a time to heal. Now is certainly a time for our nation to heal. Our most urgent priority will continue to be defeating the coronavirus. And defeat it we will. And defeat it we will. Amazing. 2 weeks ago, we passed an emergency relief package to crush the virus and put money in the pockets of workers and families, which is now the law. But we must do more to recognize our heroes. Let us thank our heroes, our healthcare workers, our first responders, our police and fire, whom we have denied support by denying help to state and local government, our transportation, sanitation, food and social workers, and our teachers, our teachers, our teachers. They make our lives possible at the state and local level and will facilitate the distribution of the vaccine in a fair and equitable manner. We owe them more. Many of our essential workers are from communities of color and low wealth, they which have been devastatingly and disproportionately affected by the coronavirus. They have been there for us. We must be there for them. With President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris, who were elected 2 months ago from today, the House will continue our work to save lives and livelihood, to build back better in a way that advances justice in America. Indeed, the pandemic has pulled back the curtain on and shown even worsened disparities in our economy and our society. We must pursue justice, economic